What's up, everybody? How's it going? We were a little delayed because we just got done wrapping up shooting the video for the Ender 6 LCD install, so we have that all shot. Just got to get it into Vegas and get it all edited. So trying to get everything moving and get our backlog done. So we have quite the backlog. I don't know why things are lagging here. What is open on my system here that's like just tanking everything? It's weird. Let me see here what's going on. And no, nothing out of the ordinary. Whatever. We're just gonna roll with it. It's eating up my GPU, but it's working. So, anyways, we are back with yet another live stream. I wonder how many we've done so far, because we've been doing this for, what, like 6 or 7 months now? It's been a while. I might take a break next week just because we got a lot of stuff going on, but we're going to keep doing these. So I do actually enjoy them. It's just work gets in the way of the streams. So anyways, let's see who we got in the chat. And you guys need to post questions in the chat so I can answer them. Otherwise, there's no stream. So let's see. I'm going to shout out to our members first here. We got TJ Dorman, Doc Brown, Kyle Fegley, Derek Cirillo. I feel like you haven't been on the last couple of streams. Hope everything's going all right. Or you're probably just busy working. You guys should be working, shouldn't you? I mean, it's like 2 o'clock my time. You guys watching this at work? Don't let your boss find out. We got Dominic Versetto, Vicky's, Ram Design, Matt Madoob. I love Matt Madoob. I don't even know if I'm ever saying the last name on there correctly. It's probably just a handle. But anyways, let's see. Tommy O, Kurt Shaw, Neil Visser, V Rich. Lots of members here. I'm surprised R Mills and Nemo aren't members yet. But Jonathan Barnes is. Who else do we got? Dean Hintz. And we got our regulars. John Max in here with his little hi Tim with his little emojis. Hi John, I see you. My good boy is on the floor behind me. Wait. Oh, you can't see him. You can just barely see him. There's little ears. You get your ears? Oh, I got your nose. I got your nose. Why are you whining? Go get it. Where's your nose? Do you hear him whining? He thinks I stole his nose. Anyways. So yeah, ask away with your questions. I do want to give a shout out to a new tool I picked up. I don't know if any of you guys have any of the Milwaukee stuff, but that's what I have here. Their little shop vac that runs off the batteries is awesome. It does eat through the batteries. I use the 5 amp hour ones, but for 120 bucks, this little Shopback is awesome. It's fantastic. It's so nice. Been using it in the office here and in the garage. I'm probably going to pick a second one up for the shop, but it's awesome. So, but let's see what questions we got in chat. I am rocking my, what do they call it? The green growl, the green apple today. And, I just had to have my maw because we had to get the video done. So hopefully it'll be a little fancier and better produced than our other ones. I had Bruce helping me out getting all the shots. So hopefully I have that out by the end of the week. But after I get off the stream here, I'm going to start editing the video and get it all posted so you guys can see exactly how the Ender 6 LCD installs, as well as all the new features that come to it. So, yeah. How are you guys liking us doing the 4K upscaled streaming? Are things clearer? Does it not really make a difference? The only downside is when we do this, we can't do the lower latency. So, sorry, Samantha was pinging me. So anyways, let's see here. Who's the first question? Well, someone asked a question, but it's not a 3D printer question, but I'm going to read it anyways because it's kind of funny. When the tide goes out, where does all the water go? I don't know. That's interesting. Never thought about it because it's got to go somewhere. Probably elsewhere in the world. It's conspiracy. Maybe the water's not real. Maybe it's all a perception. I have no idea, man. So, let's see. But the actual first real question is from Scott Warwick. He said he has a spool of Amazon Basic PLA. He can't get the first layer stick without glue stick. It globs up, rolls up when printing. I had put it in a dehydrator multiple times. My other PLAs work perfect. Same setup, no glue stick. The spool acts more like PET G. I would disagree because you're saying it globs up and rolls up. PET G is notorious for sticking too well to basically any surface. It's possible. I would say that maybe you got a roll of ABS that was labeled as PLA accidentally, or it's just a bad batch of PLA. I did try Amazon Basic stuff when it first came out. It's got to be at least a year ago. They came out. It's the same manufacturer as, I think, Raise 3D. They have their own filament. The spools are identical, but I wasn't impressed with it. There's a lot of other better low-cost PLAs. Amazon tends to do that a lot with products. If they see a product that's selling well, they'll knock off, and make their own version of those products and sell them on there. And one of the reasons I'm not a big fan of Amazon is they have, one of the stories that comes to mind is, there was a tripod manufacturer that was making, affordable tripods that were good quality. Amazon saw that they were selling a ton of them, literally copied the design exactly, and then booted them off their platform. They do stuff like that a lot where they will go ahead and copy their third-party sellers' products and, undercut them, or in some cases even kick them off the platform. It's a terrible business practice. Basically when you're a third-party seller on Amazon, not only are they making money off you, but they're also using that information to collect sales data to see what products are selling to determine if they want to get into that market and, knock off stuff that's from a third-party seller that is doing well in terms of sales. So I'm just not a big fan of them. I wasn't really impressed with their PLA. If I was going to use like a cheap Chinese filament, I've had good luck with 3D Solutech. They are made in China. They're not made in the US, but I stopped buying from them because they falsely advertised that they were made in the US. They actually have an FTC complaint against them. If you look up 3D Solutech, I think it's FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, because they were falsely advertising that it was made in US when it's actually extruded over in China. But their stuff is okay. Sunlu I've had good luck with. eSun's PLA Plus I've had good luck with in terms of like Chinese filaments. I still try to stick to the US made filaments just because I want to support US companies, and the more important thing is I get more consistency, and especially when you're running a ton of print jobs, saving $3 to $4, a roll is not worth the frustration of dealing with inconsistencies from roll to roll on a brand. So I did print with Sane Smart's wood PLA, and it did print well. The problem is it was cracking all the time. So I won't be rebuying that. Coex doesn't sell wood PLA, so I went with Sane Smart. It had good reviews, but it was very brittle. It was a pain. I had to pull my Bowden tube and manually remove it. So, but yeah, back on the topic, Amazon's Basics PLA. I haven't had good luck with it. It just printed mediocrely. And for the price point, there's a lot of other brands out there that print better. So, but it is possible you got something that's labeled incorrectly. I would just contact them and be like, hey, listen, this stuff isn't printing well. It doesn't work, and see if you can get a exchange or a refund. So, the next question is looks like from Derek. He said, I'm using DuPont jumper wires to drive my EasyBoard for my Raspberry Pi. Any safety tips to avoid burning up your board? So I'm assuming you're probably doing a direct serial connection. I don't recommend that because we haven't tested it. But I mean, you shouldn't, unless something catastrophically happens with your Pi. There's really not much risk. You're running a 3.3 volt signal between the Pi and the EasyBoard. Those are both 3.3 volt devices for the GPIO pins. Just make sure you're not hooking up to anything on 5. I've thought about messing around with the idea of where you do a direct connection from the serial port of your control board to the Raspberry Pi, and that cuts out the middleman of the USB to serial on the processor, or whether there's a built-on chip. So, but I haven't had the need to do it, especially when you're using stuff like a larger buffer size, which we do on our firmware, or using something like Arc Welder to just reduce the size of the G-code going over the USB. So, yeah, shouldn't be any issues. They're both 3.3, but just, be careful. Don't accidentally put 5 volts into it. But the LPC on that board is actually 5 volt tolerant on many of the pins. Not all of them, but almost all of them. So, Matt is asking, any idea what caused my LEDs to flicker? He's got an ESP8266 board, 5 volt power supply, controlled with October WLED plug-in. He's using the WS2812Bs, 16 of them. Flickering is weird. That sounds like it might be a firmware issue. I would just for troubleshooting's sake, go download like ESP Home and put it on there and just see if the flicker exists. If it does, it's something with the firmware. Or if it doesn't flicker anymore, it's something with the firmware and how it's driving those LEDs. I know some of the WS2812s have to be running like a compatibility mode because they can't handle the higher data rate, or they need a different type of signaling than like the NeoPixel standard. I would just do that. I would try a different firmware like ESP Home, or I believe Tasmota firmware even supports the WS2812s. Don't quote me on that. I haven't used them with them, but I believe I saw it in there. But I know ESP Home does, and that's what I'm running to drive. There's lights in my rep box, and there's lights on the printer racks. Those are running ESP Home to control them, and I don't have flicker issues. If you have flicker issues with the same firmware or with a different firmware, I would look at your power supply driving it. You should be injecting the 5 volt directly into the LED strip. Don't be passing it through the ESP. The only time I've passed through on the ESP the 5 volt signal to power those lights is if I'm running only like 8 pixels because they don't draw a ton. But you start adding up those pixels. I mean, the ones on my shelf, I just have a run of lights from one end to the other, and I'm running a 350 watt 5 volt meanwhile power supply to power those, because that's how much current they need, especially when they're on full brightness on white, because it's lighting up all 3 of those pixels, or lighting up all 3 of the LEDs, RG and B. So, Neil Visser, what advice do you have on spray painting your print? I actually am not big on finishing parts, but in general, I have painted some stuff. I've always done 2 coats of primer on there, and then 2 coats of the color, and then a clear coat if I want to protect it. And usually that will smooth out most of the lines. Just the primer, a couple of nice even coats will usually start smoothing out the layer lines. But highly recommend getting a primer that's going to stick to plastics. And just take your time, do light coats with any time when you do painting. You want to do multiple light coats. It's better to have multiple light coats than one big heavy one, because then you get drips. So, But maybe there's some people in the chat that do like props and stuff that have more experience with that. But, you know, just basically common sense. Make sure you get a paint that's going to bond to plastic. Primer's your friend. And, you know, take your time, do light coats. So my main experience with doing painting is like just, you know, I've done some computer cases in the past. I've, you know, just painted random stuff in terms of spray paints with like metal parts and stuff, like poles and stuff. Like I did my projector mount. I painted that because it was like a water pipe that I used. So, but in terms of like brush on paints, I've heard people use this 3D, I think it's like 3D XC. It's like a coating that you put on there. And I know most people seem to gravitate towards acrylic type paints in terms of painting them. I actually have just a little cheap set here that I use. You can see it's dusty. I don't use it very often, but the acrylic paints seem to stick to prints very well if you're talking about stuff that's going to be hand painted. So, but yeah, let's go on. Let's go to the next question here. Oh yeah, Nemo Griff. There's a guy named Jerry called 3D Printing and Painting. 3D HP is his like abbreviation. Check him out. He does a lot of finishing. There's actually, you can't see it, but there's like a Star Wars Cantina Band member head that he printed and painted and finished and sent to me. That guy is amazing at doing the finishing on the prints. He's got a lot of experience. So, all right, chat jumped. Let's see here. Where was I going? Where was I going? Okay, we're back. We're back to the question. Does anybody know why YouTube chat does it? You scroll down so far and then it just sends you right to the bottom. That's what I mean when chat jumps. So like if I have it up and I'm scrolled up to like go through the comments, it then jumps down once you hit a certain part. So where's Clara? She's in the house. She's sleeping. She didn't want to come out here. She wanted to stay with mom. Let's see. Tommy O is asking about the next Easy Board. Made a lot of progress on it this weekend. So we're pushing ahead. We hopefully should have some Easy Boards in about 2 months tops. We have parts for the new one. So we had to redesign the board around a new processor that we can actually get because of all this silicon stuff. And I've been hearing rumors, I don't know if anybody else can confirm, I've been hearing rumors that I guess the LPC processors, the 1769s we were using, are just, because of all this stuff, they're just killing them off. So it sounds like we might not even be able to get the processors we use on the Easy Board 1, even if we wanted to. So, but I haven't heard anything. Maybe someone else can chime in. So, but either way, we're already making a lot of progress on the one that will replace it, that will actually be able to manufacture. That's the main problem, is we can't get the parts because of all the silicon shortage. So we had to switch to a different processor, which involved redesigning some parts of the board. That luckily we're able to reuse a lot of the existing design that we know works from the Easy Board 1 to come up with a new one. So, you know, but it's not going to be like, oh, we'll have them in a couple of weeks. It's going to be probably close to 2 months, if not more. It really depends on what's going on. You know, we could hit more issues where maybe we can't get MOSFETs or something. It's been just one thing after another these days with trying to get parts made. You know, you got Ford and these other car companies building cars that don't have any computers in them because they can't get the chips. So it's screwing everybody. And at some point, it's really concerning, to be completely honest. Like, our society these days needs chips to work. So when are we going to get out of this shortage? Like, it's mind-boggling to me that they can't just fire everything back up. If you got the people, you got the materials, like, where's the hang-up? I was talking with somebody else about this, and it's like, where's the bottleneck? Like, why isn't it, okay, we've got demand, people are going back to work and stuff. Why is there this huge shortage? I don't get it. You know, I'm not in that industry and they're way bigger companies than we are, but it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't, especially that it's still going on. Anyways, and it ended up being a little rant there. So, let's see. Scott Warwick says, when I hook a Pi up to printers, it powers the main board. Should I add tape to cover the 5-volt line, or is there an adapter, cut the 5-volt trace on the main board? What's the better solution? Well, the easiest low-impact solution is the power blockers. We actually sell them. A guy named Brian Locke made them. He's out of Ireland, and we sell those. I have them on my Ender 6, and I think they're a really good thing to add because you then take the risk of the board cooking your USB port, whether it's on a Pi or a computer, because it has happened. You can do the little tape thing. My thing with the tape is over time that, especially with electrical tape, it kind of gets gummy, and I don't want gummy adhesive in my actual USB ports, especially on my computer. So I think I have some. Oh, we need to move. I always keep one handy in my personal reserves for when I'm setting up a new printer that has a Creality board or one other board that doesn't actually block. So this little guy just sits in between your USB cable and the port, and it severs that connection. So, like here's a micro USB cable. So you literally just, instead of plugging this right into the computer or your Pi, you put that on there, and then you plug this into the Pi, and this severs the 5-volt line. So, and these are only a couple of bucks, and it's completely reversible. You don't want it on there anymore, take it off. So we have these in the shop. They're great. You can obviously DIY it cheaper, but this is a literally plug it in and forget about it type of deal, and they work. So, you can also, I've seen guys, which I don't like, I've seen people where they've, cut USB cables, and they'll cut these, they'll cut the 5-volt line off. But the problem is now you're getting rid of the shielding. If you look, the cable has shielding. This is a test cable I made because there's a prototype I'm working on, and the data lines are flipped on the prototype. So I hacked this up. This was for testing, but people will do this. This is a bad idea because you're killing the shielding, especially for something long-term use. So, but yeah, they're great. Let's see, the next question. I like this question. Doc Brown's asking, what are your thoughts on cartridge style versus glass bulb thermistors? So it's really simple, and this is just my opinion. This is how I look at it. They both, at the end of the day, they both do what they're supposed to do. Reading a temperature, that's it. The difference is I do think the cartridge style are easier to install, but the problem is they're usually 3 to 4 times the cost. So, but once either of those thermistors are installed in the hot end, they both do the same thing. So there's less like risk of damaging them during installation with the cartridge type because they just have wires. Whereas the glass bulb types, they have the actual leads coming out of the thermistor, and really all you have to do is make sure you don't over tighten them. We sell a hot end, and it takes the glass bulb type. I could get hot ends that take the cartridge type, but you're talking about a 2 times cost increase, and I just don't feel like it's worth it because as long as you take your time and install things correctly, at the end of the day, they both read temperature. So, but there's some hot ends like the E3D V6s and the slices. They take the cartridge ones. That's all they can take. But at the end of the day, they work the same. They do the same job. It's just more ease of installation that you're dealing with. So let's see. Dominic Versetto is asking about the SK Go. That's that DIY Core XY printer. I have looked at that. I just don't have time to build something like that. It's the same reason I haven't built a Voron. The Vorons look cool. We joke about them. They're the Voron people are like little cults. It's like a little cult, but it's funny. It's endearing. But I think those are decent machines. I just don't got 10 plus hours to build a machine. I'd rather take something that's existing and just upgrade and beyond my way. So, like the Ender 6 has been a pretty good machine in my opinion. So, we'll see if it keeps holding up. But I have been using it for a lot of print jobs here, and it's been doing its job. So, let's see here. Oh yeah, I forgot. Scott, I should probably send you a link. I'll send you a link to the power blocker there. Just grab a quick link here. Just search on our site, and there we go. So, anyways, let's see. Next question is from Jonathan Barnes. He said, on my Ender 3, when I set the temp to like 210, it will go +5 and then 5 minus past the set temp. So that indicates that the PID tuning is not ideal for your hot end. So you can run through and do a PID tune. You can do it from the LCD. You can also do it from G-code commands. And I'm pulling up a guide here. We have a guide in our help center. So, you know, I can't stress enough, if you guys have questions, not just about products, but in general, you know, in 3D printing, like we have a ton of articles in our help center that are available for anybody. You don't have to be a customer. You don't have to be using our products. It's just free to use. So, and there's a lot of good guides in there. We have a whole section just filled with guides, and, you know, the minority of them are for our products, but the majority of them are just general guides on useful information. So, and if you're using our firmware, PID tuning is enabled in there. And if you take, if you have a 12864 style LCD, you can do the PID tune right from the LCD itself. So, let's see, the next question I'm looking is from Spot On. He said, can I flash the Creality silent board for the Ender 5 Plus through the micro SD slot, or does it have to be hooked up to a computer? I'm doing the TH3 screen placement and firmware. No, you have to do it through USB, and that's because that's an 8-bit board. The Creality silent board for the Ender 5 Plus is just a 2560 board, and those have to be updated over USB. You cannot do those through a USB update. The 32-bit boards like our Easy board or Creality's 427, they're 422s. There's a bunch of other boards there. Most of the 32-bit boards, if not all of them, all update over the SD card. The 8-bit boards update over the USB. So, and as we see more and more machines start coming with 32-bit boards, they're all going to start moving over to that SD updating. I do like the SD updating better. You compile the firmware on your computer, you know, or if you're using the Easy board, you have our website do it for you. You put the file on the SD card, you pop it into the printer, and it boots up, and you have new firmware. So just remember, anytime you guys update firmware, whether it's our firmware or Marlin or Clipper or whatever, make sure you guys reset your EEPROM, because you don't want old EEPROM settings lingering and screwing up your system. So if you have old EEPROM settings like, you know, old steps per millimeter, acceleration, jerk, those all stay between flashes. And if you change any of those in the firmware and then upload it again, your old settings are still going to stick until you reset it. So just get in the habit of resetting your EEPROM every single time you update the firmware. And you can do that from the LCD. On our firmware, it's under configuration, and at the very bottom it's called Reset EEPROM. On Marlin itself, it's called Init EEPROM. We actually renamed it to Reset EEPROM because a lot of people are not putting two and two together. Init is short for initialize. So we called it Reset in ours just so it's more clear. You can also reset your EEPROM if you're connected to your printer via, you know, a USB cable, whether that's on your computer with like a slicer that has a serial window, like a console, or printer face, or if you have a Raspberry Pi kit with Octoprint on there or an Easy Pi kit. You can also send an M502 followed by an M500. The M502 will take the firmware defaults, put them into EEPROM, and then the M500 will then save those settings into the EEPROM, overwriting everything that was in there. So it'll just clear it all out. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Chat jumped again. Of course it did. Where are we going? Where were we at? Okay. So Armel's asking, do Z steppers have to be on separate drivers or just a dedicated port per stepper? So you can do it one of two ways. What most printers do, and which works fine, is if you have two Z motors, you want to move at the same time, you can just run 2 off 1 stepper. Just make sure you're giving it enough current, whether that's adjusting the VREF physically with the little adjustment pot, or by upping the current in the firmware if you have a UART enabled board like our Easy board. You can, in Marlin, run 2 separate drivers, one for each motor, but if you're not doing anything fancy like an auto align thing, Marlin has like an auto align system in there where if you have 2 end stops, it can actually then align them. You don't need to run them off 2 separate drivers. There's no problem running 2 motors off of 1 driver. So let's see here. But yeah, you can't independently step drivers if they're running off the same driver, meaning you can't have one stop and the other one move. They're both going to do the same thing if they're hooked up off the same driver. So, but yeah, G34, that's the auto line, right? I'm just going to Google that really quick. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Z-Stepper auto alignment. So yeah, if you're using something like the Z-Stepper auto alignment, you have to have 2 separate drivers, one for each Z motor. So, let's see here. Arflet's asking, is the new Creality CR Touch a good unit? That's Creality. So Creality knocked off the BL Touch. They're calling it the CR Touch. Their actual product page is bragging about a 0.04 millimeter accuracy on the probe, and their probes are only $10 less than our Easy ABL. They're like $50+. Our Easy ABL is like 61 and some change. And we give support for the Easy ABL. Good luck getting any help from Creality. Just comparing apples to apples, to give you guys an idea, if we have a probe that's not getting at least 0.01 millimeters of accuracy or less, we consider the probe defective. You know, and multitude of factors could come in. Assuming if, let's say, the probe's set up correctly, it's calibrated, the printer's running smooth, and we're still not getting under 0.01, we consider the probe defective. Creality is advertising that their accuracy on their probe is 0.04, so 4 times what we consider bad. You know, anything under 0.01 is good for a probe. 0.04 is absolute garbage. If they were like super cheap, you know, like 20 or 30 bucks, I'd say maybe give it a shot, but they're advertising 0.04 and they're charging $50 for them. And I guarantee you they're not going to give you any technical support. So if you're looking for an auto bed leveling system, you know, our Easy ABL is the way to go, especially if you want a company to actually support the product. You know, BL Touch, they send you out to community forums. They don't do tech support as far as I know. The only time you'll get tech support from a BL Touch is if you're purchasing it from a vendor that is actually going to support the product they're selling. So I don't think it's a good unit. If 0.04 millimeters is terrible accuracy, especially in 2021. You know, just to give you an idea, consistently across all my printers in here with our Easy ABL Pros, we're getting 0.005 or less on all the machines across multiple different printer models, different boards. Our Easy ABL units are way more accurate than most of the other stuff on the market. So, and there's no moving parts. So that's the big thing I don't like about the BL Touch style units is there's moving parts. You know, there's stuff that can get in the way. Many people I've seen so many posts from people where they're printing and their BL Touch pin just drops in the middle of a print, hits the print and it destroys the probe pin, breaks things. It's just not, it's not a very good design in my opinion because I don't want moving parts on my probe. I like that ours are all solid state. They're high accuracy. All of our wires too, because you're running this wire for your probe, whether it's a BL Touch or an Easy ABL, they all run parallel to your heater wires and all your power wires for your hot end. The BL Touch and the CR Touch, BL Touch knockoff, they all use really thin, cheap wires that are not shielded. Our Easy ABL cables from the sensor all the way back to the control board are all fully shielded. There's a foil layer and a braided layer to make sure that we're mitigating as much interference as possible, which if we didn't have that, it will reduce the accuracy of the printer or of the probe when it's probing. So, let's see here. What else? Any other questions here? Sam said, according to NXP, the 1769 is support until 2024, or if they end their longevity program. Yeah, it's kind of a pain. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So, Kurt Shaw, any chance of easy board with lots more steppers? So, we do want to do a 5-driver, but the whole silicon shortage thing put a wrench in our plans because TMC drivers are also becoming hard to find. We have drivers for the new revision that we're working on, and we have processors. So the goal is to get our 4-driver back out because we don't have any board on the market right now. And we want to get another board on the market so we can actually get our easy boards back out there. So, but eventually we would like to have a 5-driver before the end of the year. If the silicon shortage lets up, I don't see why we couldn't do that. It wouldn't be that hard to do that. We scale up the board a little bit. We add another driver on, another thermistor input, another hot end. It'll be a slightly different CPU. It'll be the same CPU family for the 5-driver. Just so we have more I/O pins to work with. But I don't see why, if the silicon shortage lets up in the next couple months here, we should be able to make that a reality. But if it doesn't, then we're just going to focus on the 4-driver because that's what most people are purchasing. You know, the majority of the market is using a 4-driver board. So it makes sense for us to focus on the majority of the market instead of, you know, a small fraction that, you know, wants 5-driver boards or dual color or dual extruder support, that kind of stuff. So we got to do what makes sense business-wise. I would love to do all sorts of cool different boards with all sorts of different features, but, you know, we got to focus on what the majority of people are going to purchase, because if we spend, you know, tons and tons of money on, you know, this really unique board that's really cool, but it doesn't sell because people are like, well, I don't need all these features, then, you know, it's a waste. So let's see here. Vape to live is common and always need to always baby step at the start of every print. Yes, it depends. It really depends on your machine. I have machines here like my Ender 6 is built really well. There's not a lot of slop in it. I don't have to baby step it when I print. But I have other machines here that I do. So like my AM8, that's my custom built machine. I'm sure there's some slop in the frame that I need to go over and redo, but I do have to baby step it. So yes, it is normal. If you're talking like a tiny bit, you're saying like, you just purge line because my offset always starts at 0.7. Okay, your Z offset is too low. If you have your EasyABL properly calibrated and set up, you're going to come in with an offset of right around negative 1.5 to negative 2.2. You're going to be in that ballpark. And if your Z offset is too high or too low, that tells me that the sensor is not calibrated enough. Now, I do want to talk about this because this does happen, and it happened to me. My Ender 5 Plus used to be one of those machines I could just click print. I don't have to baby step it. Well, as I've been using it more and more and more, I had to go and baby step it, and then I actually found that the nuts that hold the sensor into the mount started to loosen up just from the vibrations of the machine. So you need to make sure you're keeping up with the mechanicals, because if you're having like drift or, you know, the number changing, it could be a mechanical issue that's introducing slop, because the sensor is only going to be as accurate as the machine that it's on can move. So if you've got a printer that's got a lot of slop in the Z-axis or in the X gantry that is responsible for moving that probe and keeping it steady, then you're going to kill your accuracy. So I had found out that my sensor was loose. I ended up just taking a little bit of Loctite, putting on the nuts, and now it's probably not going to go anywhere ever again. It's not a bad idea if you want to throw a little bit of Loctite on your sensor nuts and then tighten them down. So, but just make sure, that should be a thing you check. Just, you know, go in there and make sure it's not loose, because the vibrations from the printer head moving around can vibrate those loose. So, Paul the Texan, does the EasyBoard support the PT1000 thermistors without any add-ons? I believe that's one that's just a plug and play, and basically if a thermistor is supported in Marlin, it'll be supported on the EasyBoard, because the EasyBoard uses Marlin. I'm just double checking here. I feel like that one is that the Slice Engineering one? Because that's one that just connects directly to the, what's the word I'm looking for? That just connects directly to the 2 pins. There's no like amplifier board, because there's a PT100 thermocouple that needs an amplifier board, and the E3D version of that we do have supported, and it goes off of a different pin, and that's in the installation guide. But yeah, the PT1000, if you look in Marlin, I mean, actually, I don't know why I'm like Googling. Just go to Marlin marlinfirmware.org, and I'll show you guys how to see how to determine what thermistors are supported with a build of Marlin. And it's really easy because they actually go ahead and keep a list of them. And the easiest way to see is you go to into the configuration.h file, and this is Marlin 2081, so there might be new ones added in. We're on what are we on? We're on 207.2 right now. I am in the process of updating it to 2081. It'll be done when it's done. But if we scroll down, you can just use this page to get the thermistor number. So we have a list here. So temperature sensors available, and they have all their IDs. So if I just search PT1000, look at that. We have PT1000. And it looks like that would be the 1047. So that's what you'd want to use, would be 1047. You can also ask the place where you purchase it from, hey, what thermistor number do I need to use in Marlin? If it's not in here, then it gets a little more complicated because then you have to add your own temperature table. You have to customize the thermistor pins file, or not the pins file. There's a thermistor definition file that defines what number corresponds to what sensor. So, and in the TH3D firmware, so if I go to the Easy Firmware site, I'll just show you here using the online editor. If we just scroll down into the thermistor settings here, or is it? They're down here, extra features, thermistor settings here. So we have this option here called known hot end thermistor. So let's say it's 1047, you would uncomment this line, and then replace that X with 1047, and that will set the thermistor value. I do believe we also support this in the easy config. Yes, we do. So known thermistor value, and you can put it in right there. And voila, you're off to the races. So you just need to find the value of the thermistor that Marlin uses, and then you can set it that way. Let's go to the next one here. Dr. Jekyll, since we're talking about thermistors again, he's talking about the screw-in ones. I have not had good luck with the screw-in ones. I found that their temperatures are a little off because it's not in the block. Your mileage may vary. I was not a big fan of them. So there's companies that take the glass ones, they literally glue them into a little brass standoff, like what you use on the back of a motherboard to go into the tray. And they screw that in there, so your thermistor is sitting outside of the heater block, whereas instead of it sitting inside the block, so it gets a more accurate reading, it's spaced out, I don't know, good 5 or 6 millimeters, if not more. So I'm not a big fan of those. They're easier to install, but you're sacrificing some accuracy. Let's see here. Chat jumped. I am going to wrap this up a little bit early today because I got a bunch of people pinging me. But I'm going to try to get to a couple more questions here before I go. We are doing the Soval SVO3 stream on Friday. And I believe I scheduled that at 4 p.m. I'm going to double check. I believe it was 4 p.m. Central Time I scheduled that for. Let me double check here. Live control room. I believe it's 4 p.m. So we are doing the SVO3. Yeah, 4 p.m. on Friday. So May 28th, 4 p.m. we're doing the SVO3. So make sure you guys check that out. So let's find here. Kyle, how soon till the Ender 6 LCD install video? Well, we just shot it. We have to edit it. So I hopefully by this weekend I should have it done. We did multiple cameras, so it's going to be a little more work to edit. And we'll see if I want to keep doing that or if we want to just feed everything into OBS. But we'll find out if I'm going to regret that decision. Let's see here. Let's see if there's any other quick questions to answer before I get going. Because people are pinging me and I have to get back to work. This whole work thing gets in the way of the streaming. Let's see here. I'm looking. There's not too many questions here. 3D Wildcat. Oh, he's asking if we carry stepper drivers. We do. We carry 2209s. We carry 5 packs of 2209s. He's got the Big Tree Tech Octopus board. Don't let BTT fool you. BQ or BIQU and Big Tree Tech, they're the same company. So, but I believe those take standard step sticks. If I'm just looking up the board real quick. Yeah, they do. These take standard step sticks. So we carry 2209s. We have them in stock as far as I know. Let me see, double check. We carry the MKS brand ones. I've been very happy with MKS as drivers. Yeah, we've got 5 packs of them and they're in stock right now. So we do have them. I'll post a link there. Step sticks are universal or should be if they're correctly designed. And in terms of step sticks, I have used some of the Big Tree Tech ones and they just don't run right. They put too much current to the motors. The MKS ones seem to work just as good as the Wetterot brand. Wetterot's a little more expensive, but Wetterot's a good brand. But like I said, with most MKS stuff, I've been very happy with them. We do carry the drivers. We also sell the MKS S-Gen L board, as well as a bundle with the S-Gen L and the drivers, and you save some money doing that. So if you're looking for a universal board, I can recommend the S-Gen L V2. I've been very happy with it. It's a good budget board that actually doesn't have glaring issues like a lot of the Big Tree Tech ones. It's not going to blow your drivers up because they didn't test things. So, but anyways, I'm just double checking here if there's any other quick ones, and I've got to run. But I will be back on Friday with the SVO3, so make sure you guys stop by. And I have some boards to fix, so I might pop on later tonight and do some board repairs while we chat and talk shop. So just double checking to see here if there's any other quick questions I can answer. And then I'm gonna dip out and I'm gonna give the doggo a treat. He heard it. He perked up. I was grabbing I was grabbing the treats. So, but anyways, I appreciate everybody that stopped by. Be on the lookout for the Ender 6 LCD video. My goal is to have that out by the weekend, and make sure you guys check out the SVO3 stream that we're going to be doing at 4 p.m. on Friday. And just make sure you hit subscribe to the channel, and make sure you click the little bell and check. There's like 3 options. There's like personalized, and there's all. Make sure you click all to be notified. YouTube is still terrible at sending things out. I have a feeling like they're not sending out notifications because I don't get them. I'm gonna have to figure out a notification system that we can put into place, because like no one gets our notifications. I don't even get our own notifications, and I'm subscribed to my channel on a completely different account. So anyways, we're gonna give Remo a treat, and then we're gonna head out. Remo, do you want one of these? Oh, is your leg asleep? Come here. Come here. Sit. Shake. Good boy. Here we go. He's got his treat. He's gonna be a happy dog. I gotta get back to work. I appreciate everybody that stopped by, and as always, happy printing. Hope you learned something.